Estimating LVT in Masterpiece Cloud with Amtico and Karndean. When we start, we select the rooms to be in vinyl tile. We then draw and measure the rooms, and this results in a floor plan as shown here. At the Create Room screen, we can click on the Info button and put in the subfloor prep. I suggest screed. We can also adjust the allowance to suit the LVT design that we are going to be using. The system assumes the lay is straight rather than diagonal. If we change to having a diagonal lay, the suggested percentage allowance rises. We can have a straight lay in one room and a diagonal lay in the other if we wish. We can also change the lay from being uniform, for instance uniform planks or brick lay, to being random, i.e. a stripwood lay with random lengths. For a random lay, the percentage allowance suggested is less than for a uniform lay. For this example, we will select to have a uniform lay. The design we will use will apply to all rooms of the area, i.e. to both the conservatory and the kitchen in this case. If we were using a different design in each room, we should put one room in a vinyl tile A area and the other room in a separate vinyl tile B area. We are now ready to define the design and the tiles and planks we will be using in more detail, and thence we will be able to cost up the job. So we follow the greening and select to go to the costing pages. On arrival at the materials entry page, we are asked to select the material. This will be for the field area of the design. On selection, we are taken to the materials library where we have LVT product sets available, such as for Amtico or Karndean. For this familiarization, we will select to use the Amtico product set. We see that we are able to select from various Amtico collections. In this case, we will select signature stones. And when we have selected a collection, we can select the range which we will be using, stucco in this case. We can also select the tile size we wish to use. We will be using 12-inch square tiles, so we select 305mm for both length and width. We can select to search at any point, and if we select to search now, we get all the stucco 12-inch square tiles listed. We can either find the one that we want in the listing, or we can enter a short string of letters from the name or colour we are looking for. For example, if we enter pebble in the colour search, we just get the stucco pebble materials listed. We select to use stucco pebble, and this gets used for the field area of the rooms. We could simply continue to the cost breakdown at this point if we wish. However, if we want to capture what design will be used so as to have this on the fitting sheet, then we should click on the Tile Usage button. Similarly, if we wish to add stripping or a border, we should click on the Tile Usage button. We now see the Tile Usage panel. We see the allowance, 12%, that we went with at the Create Rooms page has come through to this panel. The allowance shown is actually averaged across the allowance we elected to have for each of the rooms of the area. We can also see that the system rounds the material required to a whole number of tiles, so the wastage becomes slightly greater at 12.3%. If the materials we have selected was supplied in packs, then the supply quantity would be rounded up to a whole number of packs. We have the opportunity to add in extra tiles or remove tiles, and the wastage will vary as we do this. You can see the effect as I add and subtract tiles here. We can also specify what design will be used for the field area by selecting from the drop-down menu. We see here the designs for Amtico because we selected an Amtico field tile. If we are happy with our selections, we can click OK and proceed with the costing. However, it might be that the customer wants a design involving stripping in the field area. To illustrate this, we will select a brick design including stripping. We see we now have a new selection in the panel, which is asking us to select what stripping we wish to have. We select on the green field and we are taken to the Materials library to select the stripping. If we select to search at this point, we would get a list of every stripping. We will generally know the width of stripping that we want, so we set the width that we wish to use, in this case 3 mm. The customer wants limestone stripping, so we put this in the colour field and then select to search, and we get a short list of limestone strippings. We then select to use the limestone stripping. We see that the stripping quantity to be supplied has been rounded to a whole number of packs, 13 packs in this case, because Amtico stripping is supplied in packs. At this point, we could click OK on the tile usage panel and proceed to cost the job. However, we will use this example to show you how to add a border to the design. We see at the moment the border selection says no border. We change this to say that we will have a border. This results in a new section appearing where we can select the border we require. We select on the green field. This takes us to the materials library where we see the listing will just show decorative borders and strippings. If the border we wish to have is a stripping border, then we can select to have a listing of just strippings, and we would select a tile width so we get just strippings listed of the required width. However, we will be having a decorative border, so we select to see just decorative borders. It's generally quickest to search using the name field to see the border we require. Here we will search for an etch border. And we are presented with a choice of two etch borders, one 3 inches wide and the other 6 inches wide. We select to use the 3-inch wide etch border. Note that the chosen border will apply to all rooms placed in the tiled area. All rooms of one area are given the same overall design. If we wanted to have one room with a border and one without, then we would at the beginning have selected to have two different tiled areas, so each room could be given a different overall design. After making the selection, a new section appears where we can select any corners we need to go with the border. After selection of the green field, we are taken to the materials library where we can see that just corners will be listed. To ensure we get the right corner to go with the border, we again put etch in as the name, and when the shortlist appears, we make sure that we select the corner that goes with a 3-inch etch border. We see that the number of corner pieces has been calculated according to the number of corners in the room. The number of corners selected is 12, 6 for each L-shaped room. If necessary, we can increase or decrease the number of corners to be used. Now that we have put in the border, there will be perimeter tiles or planks needed outside the border. The system assumes the perimeter tiling will use the same material and tile size as for the main field tile. This may or may not be the case. For this illustration, we will assume that the perimeter will use the same colour tile but in a different tile size. We select to have the perimeter in a different tile. We then click on the green field to make a selection at the materials library for the perimeter tile. We decided that the perimeter will have planks that are 36 inches long and 6 inches wide, and we will use the same stucco pebble colour as was chosen for the central field. We put in the collection, range, tile width and length, and finally the colour before searching and then clicking the Use button. The perimeter planking selected is now shown at the tile usage panel. To complete our selections, we need to define how wide the perimeter outside the border will be. We see there is a facility to do this near the top of the tile usage panel. The width of the perimeter can be expressed in various ways: as a distance in metres, as a distance in inches, and as a number of plank widths of the perimeter planks. Often, the best choice is to decide on the number of plank widths. If a whole number of plank widths is chosen, then the wastage of perimeter tile will be minimised. We decide in this case that the perimeter will be 2 plank widths. We can see the actual distance in metres and in inches that this corresponds to. Note that the selected perimeter width will apply to all rooms of the tiled area we are dealing with. Now that we have made all the selections required to define the overall design for the rooms of this tiled area, we are ready to proceed with the costing of the job and thence to create an offer to the customer. So we click OK on the tile usage panel. We are now ready to move on to see the cost breakdown. At the cost breakdown, we can see quantities and prices for all the items we've selected for the rooms of our tiled area. We also see the screed subfloor prep that we chose at the Create Rooms view earlier has come through to the costing. If we look at the fitting sheet, we see the details of the overall design we have chosen is provided for the fitter. We can take particular note of the supplier and design information, as well as the tile, stripping, border, corner, and perimeter information that we supplied earlier. Given the customer would like to receive an emailed estimate, we move on to create the offer. When the offer has been created, then we can look at the floor plan PDF. We can see that the floor plan does not attempt to show the design or the border. However, it does show the fitter in which direction the field tile should be run for each room. We have now shown how to estimate quantities for an LVT tile job, how to cost up the job, and how the information the fitter needs about the design and lay is shown on the fitting sheet. For retailers who do a significant amount of LVT business, the LVT estimating module is a highly valued extension to the baseline masterpiece.